Camera. Welcome to Inside Boxing's Throwdown. I'm Aurelio Martinez, Stephen Johnson, and I'll tell you what, just like always, we're going to recap last week's fight, this weekend's fight, and Friday we had some fights, and of course last night we had the Terrence Crawford event. So, Steve, why don't you tell us, give your take. Let's start with the Friday night ShoBox event.
Okay, yeah, ShoBox, the new generation. They had a real good fight card. I was actually surprised at how good it was, but we'll just talk about the co-main and the main. In the co-main event, we had a kid that I'm very familiar with, radio, Samuel Clarkson. I got to see him fight here in Denver. Mm-hmm. He had a boy here. We have heavy-handed Isaac Cardona, who Sammy just gave him a boxing lesson, to be honest. But ever since then, Sammy's been on a real tear, and he's actually been knocking off, I think,
upset
third or fourth upset in his favor. So upset that's the name you want to keep on. He fought a boy named Harville. I can't remember what Harville's last name. LaVarn Harville.
Yep.
Giving him his second loss. Stopped him in the second round.
Yep.
Knocked him down twice in the first round, and the second round knocked him down. The referee stopped it. So good for him. That's the name you want to watch. And in the main event, we had another kid I'm familiar with, Robert Brandt. Mm-hmm. Highly acclaimed amateur. That got his record's now 18-0. He had a tough time. It was a real tough fight for him. But that's okay. He fought a kid named Lewis Rose, and it went 10 rounds. It went the distance. It was close. It was a good close fight. Good for Robert, because they're stepping up the competition for him. And the competition, as you step it up, it should be a closer fight.
And you need to. What did you say? It was 18-0 now?
He's now 18-0.
Okay, so you should be stepping up before that.
Yeah.
Okay, but I mean 18-0, it's really time.
Yeah.
Okay, because now you're getting in there with the big boys. So
exactly. So now those are two names we want to keep our eye on.
Yeah.
As you guys know, we always try to give you guys to keep your name on. That'll be Robert Brandt, okay, and Samuel Clarkson. Mm-hmm. Okay. Robert Brandt is a middleweight, and Samuel Clarkson is a light heavyweight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Well, that was good for the Friday, and that was Showtime, ShoBox, right?
ShoBox, the new generation.
In Phoenix?
In Phoenix, Arizona.
Yes. So good. And ShoBox, I like that series, just to give them a little plug. I like that series because they bring up incoming boxers.
Yes, they do.
And it's kind of that gateway into the big time, into the ShoBox and the HBOs and this mainstream TV. So
most definitely.
So and they do a good job of it. They do a very good job of it.
They really do.
So we'll do that. But let's go on and talk about last night's fights. Okay, where Terrence Bud Crawford did his thing, and I think most people, boxing fans, saw it, and for those who didn't see it, it was a very good outing for Terrence. He was it just me, Steve, or did he seem to be a little more aggressive, a little more full of the anxiety of going in there? I mean, usually you see Terrence Crawford and he'll go into the ring and he's kind of laid back and he goes in there and he just takes care of business. You know what I mean? And to say he pretty much fought this entire fight in the southpaw stance. Mm-hmm. I mean, he just for a brief introduction at the beginning, he was in his regular stance, and then he switched southpaw, and that was it. He just rode the southpaw stance. So obviously, he's very comfortable in fighting in a southpaw stance, and obviously, he felt it was working for him, so he just stood with it.
Well, I agree 100%, and I think that, and it's just my opinion, the reason that he switched to that southpaw stance is that Jean hit him a couple of times. I mean, hit him a couple of times pretty good. And I think, Jean has been, running his mouth. I don't know why. But anyway, he ran his mouth. And he kind of, let a little bit of the cat out of the bag. He said, I've been sparring with a lot of southpaws because, Terrence Crawford is notorious now for switching the southpaw back and forth. He's good.
He likes
from orthodox to... And so, John said, we've been sparring with a lot of southpaws. And because of that, I think it gave, Bud was a little ready for that. And when it's, like you said, when he went to southpaw stance, he was tagging him and doing what he wanted to do, kept him at distance and had his way with him.
Yeah. Well,
the fight, to be honest, Aurelio, fight wasn't close. Before it was finally stopped.
Well, it was a shutout. It was a shutout.
All the way.
I think if you all remember, there was one round. I think it was the 9th round, maybe the 8th round.
I think it was 8th.
Where Jean had a couple of straight right hands, good solid right hands. Actually, actually caught Crawford, but more than anything, it kind of surprised him. It kind of surprised Crawford because he had that look, and he got that smile back on his face, and he just came right back. And you know, that's what a good boxer does. You get hit, you just come right back. You know, so many boxers you'll see they get hit with a good shot and they go into retreat mode. You know, which is the wrong thing to do, because now you're taking yourself out of your distance and you're giving your opponent the advantage to fight at his distance. And everyone knows when you fight at your distance that translates to power. But Crawford, he got hit a couple of times. He got a couple of straight rights, which were good. You can see the sweat come right off his head.
Oh, he got hit.
And he just put that smile on his face and kept coming, and wham, he just unleashed.
You know what, Aurelio?
But yeah, there was never a doubt. Jean never had a chance. I mean, it was just one of them shots. But let me tell you what did that fight do for the anticipated Pacquiao upcoming fight?
Well, let me back up just a little.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me say first of all that Terrence Crawford, there's so much that you like about him. Especially, he's humble. Okay, he's a guy that's very humble. He's confident but not cocky. Okay.
Yeah.
He knows what he wants to do. He's very comfortable. His situation now is comfortable because he's had his last 3 fights have been in Omaha.
Yeah.
And so he's his surroundings, and he even acknowledged that his surroundings are very comfortable. But now it's going to time for him to take his show on the road. Is coming up here, and things might be a little tougher. But let me say this: one of the things I like about Terrence Crawford, and it's funny that you mentioned a little bit, is that he's a guy like Shane Mosley used to be. Remember Shane Mosley? You watch Sugar Shane, and he would be fighting and doing his thing. But once he got hit, there's one thing about Sugar Shane. I don't care what you say about him, man. Everything else we all went out the window. He's ready to fight. When you see him get hit, you think he's hurt, he fights. And that's what Terrence Crawford did. Like you said, when Jean hit him, it was like he was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And he came in. I mean, that fires him up. And I think that's what's going to be exciting, as we're going to talk about now. It's like you said, the possibilities of a Manny Pacquiao and Terrence Crawford fight in December. I think there's a lot of opponents that can be looked at, but I guess Terrence Crawford was pretty much promised by Bob Arum, if he had a good showing last night, that he'd be the front runner. What do you think about that?
He's the front runner, and I think.
Do you think he's the front runner?
I think he's the front runner, and I think Bob Arum. He knows, and he looks at what fights are going to be one high end promotional, able to be promoted on a high end where you don't have to really struggle and put a lot of money into promoting a boxer that really shouldn't be there, because they do that. They do that a lot, and you just kind of have to trick the public into buying the fight. Well, you take a Terrence Crawford, anytime you can bring, what would he have, 10, 14,000, I forget, in the audience there?
In Omaha?
Yeah.
I think it was 10.
Yeah, so anytime you can bring that kind of numbers in Omaha, what are you going to do when you go to the big floor, Madison Square Gardens or Mandalay Bay or any of the Las Vegas venues? I mean, it's just something that it wants. Plus the pay-per-view, people are going to want that fight.
And don't forget, let's give credit where it's due. Top Rank has been very, very smart in the way that they've marketed Terrence Crawford. First of all, when they had a few months ago, they had an online back and forth where you could call in and actually and leave a question that you want to ask. It was very engaging with Terrence Crawford. You got to look at him. As everyone's talking about now, his trip to Africa, and how you can hear the passion in his voice. He really enjoyed that. He said he's going back.
Sure.
These are things that engages the public.
Well,
and you take all that into consideration. And Terrence Crawford, like you said, along with his abilities, now he's one that he hasn't had anyone pushing, and so, like you said, Bob Arum is smart.
Okay, well,
the way they did what Floyd did, he took someone as Andre Berto, who we knew, didn't.
Well, you have to sell that to the public. You have to sell that to the public. So,
you'll still have to sell this fight with Crawford, but the way they marketed Terrence
The
Crawford.
marketing is a lot easier.
No, his name is on everyone's
See, that brings
list.
me to a thing on the internet, on a specific thread where we're talking about Terrence Crawford. There was someone that came back and he said, you know, that the Top Rank was Bob Arum and Top Rank were holding him back. They were talking about the choice of his opponents.
That's
you know,
an idiot.
and that's
Whoever
just
did that,
that's
he's an
just
idiot.
stupid because
It
if
really
you look at the boxers that have made the most money in this game, okay, they've all been Top Rank boxers. You're talking about Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd Mayweather. These guys were all Top Rank fighters. Manny Pacquiao, you know, they all were with Bob Arum, and they just know what they're doing. So he's in good hands, and I think it's going to be good. Real quick, you know, this segment's pretty much ended, but let's talk about, is he ready for Pacquiao? I mean, Terrence, I know Terrence, I've met him many a times, and I think this is a good big money fight for him. So there's just no way he can turn it down because you're talking about a setting him for life, him, his family, everyone else for this kind of fight.
Oh, yeah.
So it's one that he has to take. But the question remains: did you see anything that tells you he's ready for Pacquiao?
Well, I can't tell if he's ready for Pacquiao. I can tell you the one thing that I saw is that, like I said earlier, I don't think he's fought anyone up to date that is as crafty, has fast hands, that moves as much as Pacquiao. That remains to be seen if he can deal with that.
Yeah.
But all the rest of the things that you all the peripheral things, as far as, like I said, engaging, humble, all these things, that makes him, I agree, the front runner.
Well, you know what? I'm a follow this. I'm a follow it closely, because to tell you the truth, I think that fight's going to happen. I think it's the marketable one to happen. I'm going to follow it because right out the box, my thoughts right out the box is Terrence Crawford's not ready for Pacquiao. Okay, I haven't seen anything in there that will show me that Terrence Crawford can stay in there with a Manny Pacquiao or anyone like a Mayweather or any of them. But we're talking Pacquiao. So I'm going to follow it because I'd like to see how his training changes, how his just everything leading up to it, how he's going to handle himself to prepare himself for a Manny Pacquiao. Because if the fight were to happen right now today, my opinion is he wouldn't have a chance to beat Pacquiao.
Yeah. Well, unless, like we've said many times.
There's no less.
No. I said, like we've said many times before, unless Pacquiao got old overnight.
Or he diminished. That's the other thing. But you can't go into this fight thinking that Manny Pacquiao's over the hill.
I got you.
Okay.
But
anyway,
all right.
We'll follow up. We'll come back with another segment as that fight, if it happens to become fruitful and it's going to happen, we'll follow it for you guys and kind of bring you some insight as far as some training notes and all that good stuff.
Okay.
So we'll come back. We'll talk about what's going to happen this weekend in boxing.
Coming weekend.
And until then,
keep
them hands up.
Keep them hands up, baby.